Columbus presents what it would feel like to represent one's own feelings and memories in a physical form, like a building. When we choose to go places that remind us of feelings or memories, we strive for something that has meaning only to us. We sit in its awe, in its silence, and float in its substance. We take a breath, and we pause, soaking in the atmosphere, the sights, the sounds, and let the mind wander to where it is that connects us to the place for all time. It's very personal, but also very impersonal in the way that people find the modernist buildings presented in the film as a whole, its history, its substance, on a detached level. Here, in this story, we delve deeper in two opposing characters, one that attaches her feelings and memories to places not being able to let go, and another whom does not, and thus struggles to attach his feelings about his father to his own through his father's work. This is Two Takes, and this is One Shot, an analysis of the film Columbus. Casey shows us her list of her favourite buildings to which introduced her interest in architecture and the appreciation that is felt for a place where she has grown up. Others around her are always asking about her plans with the future, to get more education, to move out. However, the answer is always the same. She's looking after her mother, whom is recovering from being addicted to meth. We see her having awkward conversations with an old friend from school who tells her about her life after moving out of Columbus with no interest in coming back, subtly placing their hometown as some thorn in a bouquet of flowers. But for Casey, because of her choices, it has led to her not necessarily being stuck, but rather being constantly reminded of her inability to let go. Is this through fear of the future, or a fear of getting out of her comfort zone? We realise it goes a lot deeper, and she cannot let go easily in what has happened in the past, and what might be a possibility in the future. And so she slowly learns about her home. The emotional connection, although bad, led to educational discovery and a new perspective on her hometown. Casey has discovered, through her trauma and appreciation of where she lives, a deeper connection that others, like her friend from college, have ignored or neglected. Like the conversation about the soup between Casey and her mother, sometimes subtlety is the best form to truly enjoy the flavours. Historic buildings surrounded by scenery can sometimes be the best in subtly helping one feel what they need to feel, and perhaps even help you forget in the moment. There's this aspect of addiction when it comes to things, and in this case, substances. Casey's mum was addicted to meth, and in some scenes, it might be her addiction that is coming back. Jin's father was addicted to his fascination with architecture, to the point of essentially ignoring his son. Both children have to live with this knowledge, having experiences such as modernism in architecture tarnished based off of memories, whilst also appreciating its form detached from emotion. To be addicted to something, but also detached. It's a strange feeling, like loving something that is hurting you, loving that certain parent that has hurt you, or has hurt themselves. It's a case of living with the effort and the cost of these sacrifices and being able to see what is invisible, their memories and emotions, and what is always visible, structures that remind you of them. It can be from the same thing, the same space, the same building or landscape. We see phone calls, or lack thereof, by both characters, and it's interesting how Casey strives for this communication, which is not really given, whilst Jin does not want any. Casey has a flip phone for the simplicity of what it can do, communicate through calls, whilst Jin has a smartphone, which in this day and age is the norm. Smartphone, dumb human. This is what is said when Jin is going to search up something whilst Casey was struggling to remember it, and then eventually getting it right. It's also fascinating to find that Jin has his long conversations on the phone in another language that is never understood, whilst Casey's phone calls mostly go unanswered. The one that wants the communication doesn't have it, whilst the one that wants to be left alone does. This difference in communication and even model of phone presents a metaphor of them both being in different minds with what is going on around them, almost being in a battle of sorts with what they are struggling to say. The divide when they first meet with the iron railings that eventually lead to an open gate show this predicament of them being in two different places emotionally. Them finding an opening to finally be stood next to each other shows a subtle inclination of the ending of the film, and letting other things go through each other's support and recognition. In another scene, it is made more prominent when Jin asks what Casey feels personally towards the buildings that she is so fascinated with, whether it's through the intellectual details of its history or through something else. And when she finally gives a more honest answer, we're left in the dark as to why she loves what she loves. I feel this is done on purpose, much like not understanding Jin's phone calls, to enhance the delicacy of why people say what they say or love what they love. It's like that quiet contemplation that each of us do, whether by ourselves or in the company of others. We simply be, and our minds wander in its beautiful thoughts. It isn't shared, and it doesn't have to be. The importance lies in the presentation of feeling the way we do, and being one with it. For example, the bridge that Jin said had the healing powers within its architecture, with the water flowing with branches from trees floating and hanging on against the current. It is here that Jin finally lets go and cries over his own and his father's predicament, finally feeling some connection on what is going on when it comes to his loved ones. And with Casey and our subtle wardrobe of horizontal striped t-shirts competing against the vertical stripes of the blinds on one of her favourite buildings, with her silently crying at the beginning of the film and suddenly sobbing whilst away from its comforting embrace. There's this battle of letting go, of letting the healing process begin. Whilst we watch Jin get drunk and look through his dad's things in his hotel room or sleeping, we find Casey doing household chores, reading or sewing, and only really watching TV with her mum. There's this aspect of a slow life in Columbus, where technology isn't really important. The value lies in being fully present in the task, the memory, or even sensation, and with these small conversations we get a glimpse into as the audience, it can show different examples of this value that we sometimes forget to do in our everyday lives. To be present, and to just be. There is beauty in the little things, and it is here, in this film, in its stunning atmosphere and natural sounds and light, that we see it. The buildings are surrounding us, interlinked with nature in some, but their history, their meanings, once researched, can become our meaning too. In many scenes there is an explosion of sound that occupy the landscape, teeming with life, with activity from people in the backgrounds, to the inevitable eventual ending of the film, showing the same landscape void of any human occupation. Quiet contemplation, softened like the subtle changes of the characters when they stop feeling bad in order to move on. These moments of cinematography of architecture stand tall against the change, with their innovative creation breaking the mold for all to see forever. They stand the test of time, much like one's memories and connections, and for each person, it's a different sensation. For each person, these buildings mean something else. They change for each of them, and with each connection that forms, its importance lingers not just for the building's worth, but for the person relishing in it. What are your thoughts on what was discussed in this episode? Comment and let me know to open up a conversation. Like and subscribe for more content of this nature, and come talk to me on Twitter or Instagram. Better yet, support the show on my Patreon to help a creator such as myself with learning on the go. Each like, each comment, each subscriber fuels the motivation I need to make better and better content for yours truly. Come say hi, and thanks for watching.